Long-time lurker, first-time poster, using a throwaway because some of our mutual friends use Reddit, and I'm not ready for everyone to know the full story yet. Sorry in advance for the wall of text, but I, female, 37, really need to get this off my chest. I guess I should start at the beginning. My husband, male, 39, let's call him Mason, and I have been married for 12 years. We met during my second year of architecture school when I was waiting tables at this campus restaurant to pay for tuition. Mason was getting his MBA, though honestly I barely ever saw him studying. Like he was always the guy organizing bar crawls and weekend trips while I was pulling all-nighters. His parents own a financial advisory firm and they're loaded. After graduation, I got a job at this architecture firm while Mason joined his parents' company. We got a starter home, and things were pretty good for a while, like normal marriage stuff, but we were happy, or I thought we were happy. About 4 years ago, Mason decided he wanted to branch out and start his own financial advisory practice. He said he wanted to build something of his own, instead of just riding his parents' coattails, his words. I was super supportive and even scaled back my hours at the firm to part-time so I could help him get everything set up. I thought I was being a good partner, you know. I really believed in him and thought the sacrifice would strengthen our marriage. God, I was so stupid. The past 5 years have also been really hard because we've been trying to have a baby. We did 2 rounds of IVF that drained our savings. Well, my savings, more on that later. Both failed and it was devastating. Mason seemed supportive, holding my hand at appointments, bringing me little gifts after rough days. Looking back, maybe it was just guilt. 6 months ago, we finally bought our forever home. This old house that needed a ton of work. I was so excited because with my architecture background, I could oversee the renovations. We talked about which bedroom would be the nursery someday and planned where we'd host family holidays. I even started drawing up the plans myself to save money on an architect. Ironic, I know. Around that time, Mason started working later and later. He hired this junior financial analyst that supposedly needed tons of training. He'd come home at 9 or 10 p.m., sometimes smelling like alcohol, claiming they went over client files at the bar or whatever. He got super irritable and distant. I suggested counseling. I even researched therapists who specialized in fertility-related relationship problems and found this woman who had amazing reviews from couples going through similar stuff. I made an appointment, but Mason canceled last minute, claiming a client emergency. Then 3 weeks ago, everything fell apart. Our anniversary was coming up, and I wanted to order Mason a custom watch I knew he'd been eyeing. His phone was charging upstairs, and I was too lazy to go get it, so I grabbed his iPad that was on the coffee table. When I opened the browser, it automatically logged into his messages. We've always had each other's passwords, nothing weird about that. That's when I saw them. Messages from someone named Courtney, with heart emojis saying she can't wait for their future to begin, and how she was counting down the days. I felt sick immediately. When Mason got home that night, I confronted him about Courtney. He looked shocked and tried to claim she was just a client. I mentioned finding the heart emojis and lingerie pics in his recently deleted folder. They just popped up when I was looking for something else. I wasn't snooping. His whole face just changed. It went cold in a way I'd never seen before. He told me he hadn't been happy for years. We had literally been planning our future house together. I asked if he even tried to make our marriage work, or if he just gave up without telling me. He told me that Courtney, female, 31, understands him better and doesn't pressure him about babies. That hurt so much because the fertility treatments were his idea too. I never pushed him into it. I reminded him of that, and he just shrugged and said, "People change sometimes." When I asked how long it had been happening, he admitted they'd been seeing each other for 6 months, ever since she joined his firm as a client. 6 months. While we were buying our dream house and I was planning renovations in our future, I told him to get out. He hesitated, and for a split second I thought maybe he regretted it, but now I realize he was probably just trying to figure out where he'd go. Spoiler alert, straight to Courtney's place. He moved out within days, just taking his clothes and personal stuff. Left me with the mortgage and a house that's literally half torn apart. There are contractors coming in and out every day, and I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm falling apart. I've lost like 15 pounds because I can barely eat. I cry in the shower so the workers don't hear me. My sister Susan moved in temporarily to help. We've never been super close, but she dropped everything to come help me, and I'm grateful. I contacted a divorce attorney last week, Shout out to my friend Jenna, who basically forced me to make the call. Turns out Mason has been moving money between accounts for months. The lawyer found transfers from our joint savings to some investment account I didn't even know existed. I feel so stupid. I have a literal degree, but I trusted him completely with our finances because he's the financial expert. What a joke. The worst part, I heard from our friend Roy that Mason and Courtney are already living together in this expensive apartment that probably costs twice our mortgage. And yesterday, my coworker spotted them at a jewelry store looking at engagement rings. Engagement rings. Our marriage of 12 years meant so little to him that he's already ring shopping with the woman he cheated with. Part of me wants him to suffer and lose everything, but another part still wishes he'd realize he made a terrible mistake and come home. I know that's pathetic and contradictory, but that's where I am right now. How do you just stop loving someone even when they've completely betrayed you? I don't even know what I'm asking here. How do I move forward? How do I stop caring about someone who clearly never cared about me? How do I face the fact that I wasted 12 years of my life on someone who could throw it all away for a younger woman who doesn't pressure him about babies? Edit. Someone asked about the house. It's in both our names, but I can't afford it on my own with my part-time income. I'm meeting with a realtor next week to see what our options are. The renovations are about halfway done, and I honestly don't know if I should finish them to get a better price or just sell as is. The idea of finishing the renovations we planned together makes me sick, but I also need every penny I can get right now. Edit 2. A few people have mentioned that Mason's behavior seems planned. Looking back, I think you're right. He was extra affectionate right before and after we closed on the house. I remember him insisting that we could afford it, even though I was nervous about the price. Now I'm wondering if he was already planning his exit and wanted to make sure I didn't suspect anything until after we were locked into the mortgage. The timing with Courtney starting at his firm and us buying the house is suspicious. Edit 3. Wow, I wasn't expecting so many responses. To answer some common questions, yes, the lawyer is documenting all the financial stuff. No, I haven't confronted Mason about the money transfers yet because my lawyer advised me to wait. And yes, I've already changed all my passwords and opened my own bank account. Thanks for all the support and advice. It means more than you know. Now for the first update. Update. My female, 37, husband, male, 39, left me for another woman, and I just found out he's been stealing our money for months. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. I was a complete mess when I wrote it and didn't expect so many people to respond. Your advice and support seriously helped me get through some of the darkest days of my life. It's been about 4 months since everything fell apart. God, feels both like yesterday and a lifetime ago, and a lot has happened. Sorry in advance for the wall of text, but I need to get this all out. So after Mason moved out, I basically couldn't function for like 2 weeks. My sister Susan literally had to force me to eat and shower. Embarrassing, but true. I was just existing. I kept thinking he'd call and say it was all a mistake, that he wanted to come home. Pathetic, I know. My friend Jenna convinced me to start therapy. I found this therapist who works with people going through betrayal stuff. She's been helpful. I've started seeing how I always try to keep everyone happy since my parents got divorced when I was 9. And look how well that worked out, lol. Not blaming myself, just noticing stuff now. I also reconnected with my old architecture colleagues who have been incredible. My old boss, Jeff, reached out after hearing what happened and offered me some project work. I've slowly been building back to full-time hours. Working on actual buildings instead of just renovating that stupid house has reminded me how much I love what I do. Speaking of the house, I decided to sell it. I just can't live there with all those half-finished projects, you know? Every time I walk into what was supposed to be the nursery, I feel physically sick. Plus, I literally can't afford it on my own anyway. I've been looking at apartments closer to the office. There's this one with amazing windows and I'm kind of in love with it. Still waiting to hear back from the landlord. The divorce mediation is proceeding slowly. My attorney Tim discovered that Mason had been siphoning money from our joint accounts into some private investment portfolio for over a year. A year! That means he was already planning his exit while we were doing IVF and buying the house. I'm not normally a violent person, but when Tim showed me the bank statements, I literally threw my coffee mug against the wall. Had to pay the law office for the damage, but honestly, worth it. I know I probably look crazy to the law office staff, but after finding out your husband of 12 years was basically stealing from you while you were trying to have his baby, I think I'm entitled to throw one mug. Then last month, I heard from our mutual friend Vicky that Mason and Courtney announced her pregnancy at his family's annual charity gala. Vicky didn't want to tell me, but thought I should hear it from a friend rather than through social media or whatever. I broke down completely. After all those years of trying, all the hormones and shots and disappointments, he gets her pregnant within months. I started thinking maybe it was my fault all along. Maybe I was the problem. I heard from Vicky that Mason's parents were initially upset about the timing, but then got super excited about their first grandchild. They apparently offered to buy them a house and set up a trust fund for the baby. Great. But then, and this is where it gets wild, about 3 weeks ago, this guy Carlos, Courtney's ex-boyfriend, contacted Mason with screenshots proving Courtney had been maintaining their relationship the entire time she was with Mason. Yep, she was cheating on the cheater. Mason apparently confronted Courtney with the screenshots, according to Roy, who heard it from Mason directly. She denied everything at first, claiming Carlos was obsessed with her. But then Mason admitted he'd actually had her followed by a private investigator because he'd gotten suspicious. Karma much. That's when she broke down and admitted she'd been seeing multiple men, including Carlos, the whole time. Mason demanded a paternity test, obviously, and guess what? The baby isn't his, it's Carlos's. When Mason asked why she wouldn't just stay with Carlos if they were still together, Courtney apparently said something like, Carlos recently got a huge inheritance from his grandfather, and she was hedging her bets between the two of them, like she was literally just going for whoever had more money. And then, wait for it, Courtney left Mason for Carlos. She's supposedly trying to make it work for the baby with him now. I know this all sounds like some crazy soap opera plot, but I swear I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. But it gets even better. Mason's parents found out the whole truth during some family dinner where Mason was apparently asking for more financial support. According to Roy, who heard from Mason's cousin, Mason literally said he deserved their support because families should stick together, which is fucking rich coming from the guy who abandoned his marriage of 12 years. Robert and Diana were humiliated. They'd already announced to all their rich friends that they were expecting a grandchild, so they cut Mason off completely, apparently called him reckless, and said they were done bailing him out. Mason lost access to the family investment accounts that were basically funding his entire life and business. His apartment lease, which his parents co-signed, won't be renewed. Roy says Mason had to let go of his office space and his only employee. He's working from home and struggling to keep clients. So, karma, I guess. I should feel happy or something. And part of me does. But there's still this stupid part of me that's just sad about everything. Not because I want him back. I don't. But because I'm sad about what I thought we had. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to accept that the future I planned isn't happening. And I know some of you are going to say I'm still in love with him, but that's not it. It's grief, not love. Anyway, that's where things stand. House is on the market, divorce is proceeding, ex-husband is getting exactly what he deserves. I'm taking it day by day. Some days are better than others. Edit. So many comments already. To address some questions, yes, my lawyer is using the financial stuff in the divorce proceedings. Mason's definitely going to have to pay for siphoning that money. And no, I haven't spoken to Mason directly since all this went down with Courtney. Everything I know is through mutual friends. Edit 2. Someone asked about the IVF rounds. Mason was extremely enthusiastic about them at the time. He was the one scheduling appointments and researching clinics. That's why it was so shocking when he told Courtney I was pressuring him about babies. Complete revision of history. And yes, I'm keeping the embryos we have stored. My lawyer made sure of that. Edit 3. A few people asked if I confronted Mason about the money he took. No, I haven't. My lawyer advised me to let the legal process handle it rather than giving Mason a heads up that would let him hide more assets. But believe me, I've written about 50 drafts of emails and texts I'll never send lol. Edit 4. To the person who asked if Mason's parents have reached out to me, no, they haven't. We were never super close. They always treated me fine. Like, not badly, but I always felt like they thought Mason could have done better than someone who had to work through school, if that makes sense. I doubt I'll ever hear from them again. Edit 5. Thanks for all the kind words about the apartment hunting. A lot of you are saying I should prioritize myself and nest in a new space. And I think you're right. I have a second viewing of that apartment tomorrow morning. The windows really are amazing, floor to ceiling in the living room. and it's within walking distance of this little bakery that makes these incredible almond croissants. Feels like a sign. Now for the second update. Final update. My female 37, ex-husband, male 39, who left me for another woman, tried to come crawling back after she left him. Wow, I can't believe it's already been 2 months since my last update. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who commented with support and advice. You guys have seriously been my lifeline through this whole nightmare. Reading your comments during those 3 a.m. can't sleep anxiety spirals helped more than you know. So a lot has happened again. I guess I should start with the good stuff. I finally sold the house. Got a decent price for it too. Not what we would have gotten if the renovations were finished, but enough to pay off the mortgage and have a little left over. My realtor Jen was amazing and basically held my hand through the whole process because I was a complete mess about it. I mean, I'm an architect, but somehow paperwork makes me shut down, lol. I found this amazing apartment in this artsy neighborhood with these huge windows. It's close enough to my office that I can walk when the weather's nice, which has been really good for my mental health. My sister helped me decorate, and we found this gorgeous second-hand dining table that I'm obsessed with. It's the first time I've bought furniture that's just for me, not compromising with Mason's boring taste. He literally wanted everything in gray and black, like we were living in some corporate hotel room. Work has been really good too. I've been back full-time for a couple months now, and Jeff has been giving me more responsibility. I'm leading this project, designing a sustainable community center. I've been pouring everything into it, and it's been so healing to create something positive. My therapist says I've been making great progress, though I still have my moments. I've been doing this thing where I write letters to Mason that I never send. Sometimes they're furious, and sometimes they're sad, but it helps get the feelings out. Dr. Lambert says grief isn't linear, and some days will still be hard, which is accurate. So anyway, I was sitting at my desk last Tuesday, completely focused on these structural support diagrams for the community center, when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and almost fell out of my chair when I saw it was from Mason. After months of silence, the text said, "I've made a terrible mistake. Can we talk?" I literally started shaking so bad that I accidentally deleted an entire day's work from my drafting software. Thank God for auto backup, but still had to redo like 2 hours worth. I didn't respond right away because I honestly didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell him to go to hell, and part of me, the stupid part, wanted to know what he had to say. I talked to Susan that night, and she was like, absolutely not, block him. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. I know that probably sounds pathetic, but after 12 years of marriage, I guess I felt like I deserved some kind of explanation. Closure. I don't know. So I texted back the next day and agreed to meet for coffee at this place downtown that I never go to. Didn't want to ruin any of my regular spots with this conversation. I told myself it was just to get closure and nothing else. When I saw him walk in, honestly, he looked terrible. He'd lost a lot of weight, had these dark circles under his eyes, and was wearing this wrinkled button-down. For a split second, I felt this surge of something. Not love exactly, but this instinct to take care of him that I guess is just hardwired after being together so long. But then I remembered how he looked me in the eyes and told me Courtney understood him better while I was still recovering from our second failed IVF cycle, and that feeling disappeared pretty quick. He sat down and immediately launched into this sob story about how everything had fallen apart. Apparently, he's staying at some extended stay hotel because his lease ran out, and his parents still won't take his calls. His business is basically failing because all his clients were his parents' connections, and most of them dropped him. And get this, Courtney's been posting all these baby shower photos with Carlos and his family all over social media. She even tagged Mason in one of them at first, before taking it down. He talked about himself for literally 25 minutes straight, before even asking how I was doing. Classic Mason. Then he told me he wanted to know if he could move back in temporarily while he sorted things out. He said he realized he threw away something real for something fake, and that he missed our life together. I know what you're all thinking. Hell no. But bear with me. I'll be honest, and this is embarrassing to admit. There was this tiny part of me that still cared about him. Not in a romantic way exactly, but just when someone's been your person for 12 years, it's hard to completely shut off all feelings, you know? And seeing him so desperate and sad triggered this caretaker instinct in me that my therapist says I need to be careful about. I told him I needed to think about it, which was stupid. I should have just said no right there. But part of me was thinking like, that's what marriage means, supporting each other through hard times, even though he's the one who threw our marriage away. My brain is so messed up sometimes. I talked to Dr. Lambert about whether people can truly change, and she was like, change requires genuine self-reflection and accountability, which Mason definitely wasn't showing. He was just sorry his plan blew up in his face. Susan and basically all my friends were adamantly against giving him another chance. My college roommate Amy actually drove 2 hours to come see me in person when I told her what was happening. She reminded me how I supported her through almost the exact same situation years ago. After thinking about it for a few days, which, looking back, was way too much mental energy to waste on this, I decided to meet Mason for dinner. Not to consider taking him back, but to get real closure. At least that's what I told myself. Looking back, I think I was secretly hoping he'd say all the right things to make me feel better about myself. So dumb. I suggested this restaurant where we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary. I know. What was I thinking? It actually just made him all defensive about how much had changed. So here's basically how the dinner went. I asked him to really explain what happened with Courtney. He admitted she targeted him knowing his family had money. He said she made him feel important and understood, which basically meant she stroked his ego constantly. I asked if he ever truly loved me or if he just needed a supportive wife figure. He completely avoided the question and started talking about how his parents had abandoned him instead. I pressed him about what he actually wanted from me now. After a bunch of vague stuff about second chances, he finally admitted he was struggling financially without his parents' support. I asked point blank if he missed me specifically or just the stability I provided. He hesitated for way too long before saying, of course he missed me. Then I pointed out that in the entire conversation he hadn't asked a single question about my life since he left. Not one. What I'd been doing, how I was feeling, if I was okay, nothing. He got all defensive and said he assumed I was fine because I'm always fine, which is such BS because I was literally falling apart for months. I finally told him exactly how deeply his betrayal had hurt me, how I'd lost 15 pounds because I couldn't eat, how I cried myself to sleep for months, how I had to go on anti-anxiety medication just to function. He looked super uncomfortable and immediately changed the subject to practical stuff about getting back together, like when he could move in and how we'd handle finances. That's when I suddenly realized he hadn't changed at all. He still saw me as an accessory to his life, not a person with my own needs and feelings. I was just a convenient solution to his problems. I told him, very calmly, which I'm actually proud of, that I wouldn't be getting back together with him. That his betrayal had forced me to become stronger and more independent, and I deserved someone who saw my worth even when things were good, not just when they needed something from me. The look on his face, I can't even describe it. Shock, then anger, then this desperate pleading. But I just got up and left. Didn't even finish my meal, which sucks because it was like $30. The divorce was finalized the following week. Actually got better terms because of all the evidence of his financial manipulation. And I just got offered a partnership at my firm. I'll be leading our new sustainable design initiative. I heard through Roy that Mason had to take some entry-level position at one of his parents' competitors and is renting a room in a shared apartment across town. Apparently, his new coworkers don't even know he's the son of Robert and Diana because he's using his mother's maiden name now. The weirdest part. Robert and Diana reached out to ME last week. They actually apologized for Mason's behavior and offered financial support, which I politely declined. But Diana gave me this antique jewelry set that had been passed down through their family, saying it was always intended for Mason's wife, and she still wanted me to have it. It was unexpected. So that's it. That's the end of my marriage story. I won't say I'm completely healed. I still have days where I'm angry or sad about everything that happened, but I no longer wish he would come back. I'm actually grateful that this forced me to rediscover myself. Someone commented on my last post that sometimes people have to lose everything to realize what they had, but by then it's too late. That's exactly what happened, and I'm finally at peace with that. Edit. Several people have asked if I'm dating yet. No, definitely not ready. Dr. Lambert says I need to fully process this relationship before jumping into another one, and I agree. I'm enjoying getting to know myself again first. Edit 2. To those asking about the community center project, yes, I'll definitely post pictures when it's finished. The groundbreaking is next month and I'm nervous but excited. Edit 3. Someone asked if I kept the embryos from our IVF treatments. Yes, they're still stored at the clinic. I honestly don't know what I want to do about them yet. That's a decision for future me. Edit 4. A lot of you are asking how I stayed so calm during that final dinner. Trust me, I wasn't as composed as it sounds in writing. I was literally gripping my water glass so hard I thought it might shatter, and I had to go to the bathroom twice to splash water on my face and do breathing exercises. Edit 5. Thanks for all the kind words about my new apartment. To the person who asked, yes, I did get a cat. Her name is Pepper, and she's a 3-year-old rescue who basically runs the place now.